Hey everybody, welcome back to One Word Sale Music Speaks. I am your handicapped host, James Cox. Our guest is a singer-songwriter based out of Wichita, Kansas, drawing influence from genres including metal, rock, grunge, and country. Our guest delivers his own brand of original dark acoustic rock. He has been writing, recording, and performing original music for over 20 years. It wasn't until late 2017 that our next guest started his own solo project and really began to find his stride. He has 6 singles and EP out right now on Apple Music and Spotify, and his new single "Through the Cracks," which will be released on January 29th, 2021 on all platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dusty Grant.
Hey James,
Hey,
how you
man,
doing?
pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Just hanging out on a Sunday. Was watching some football with the kids, and I'm excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you very much. I just want to tell our audience how we met first, and maybe you have a different story or the same story I do. But I posted a post on podcast guests, I think,
Yes.
and what they did was, what is your podcast about? And I obviously music. I filled out everything, and you came on my list of contact. Is that the same?
Yeah. I submitted a form through there because I was just getting started with my podcast and I wanted to get on other shows and network with other
Yeah.
shows. And so yeah, I filled something out for your podcast. I saw what you were
Yeah.
looking for, and I figured that it might be a good connection.
Yeah. Well, I started this podcast with my co-host, Rosalie, who's not here today. He apologized to you. But the only thing that I can really talk about and have enough sense to talk about is music.
Yeah,
Music is a major part of my life, and I'm sure it's part of your life. So we really thank you for being on the show and talking to us today.
definitely. I'm
Um,
happy to be here.
yeah. So not many artists can blend metal, rock, grunge, and country together in their own thing. But you did, right?
I,
So when and how did you decide to blend all music genres into one awesome genre?
I think it was just when I went solo, and I never really had a preconceived notion of what kind of music I wanted to write. When I started playing guitar and learning how to play guitar, I just came up with riffs that I liked and worked on those riffs and wrote what I kind of felt. And I never really had a mindset of saying, okay, I want to be folk, I want to be rock, I want to be country, I want to be this or that. I was just playing organically kind of what I felt. And I think it's just a blend of the influences that I've got just kind of coming through when I write stuff. So it wasn't really a
Right.
cognizant decision. And some of those influences are coming on later. And as I listen to more music, my influences are always changing. So I'm sure you can always hear the influences that I have in my music, or at least I hope you can.
Yeah. Well, I do, and we're going to get into it in just a minute. But you said this is your first solo or starting out, right? So you were a part of a band before, right?
Yeah. I started in 2019. I'm sorry. I started when I was 19.
Okay.
Which was I've been a musician for about 20 years. I played in rock, metal, hard rock bands mostly, just as a front man and singing. And then in 2017, I decided to go solo. I had my twins, and life changed drastically for me. But I did want to get back into music, so I picked up the guitar and started taking it a little more seriously, and here I am today.
Right. So you call your style of music dark acoustic rock, right?
Yes, sir.
So would you please explain to our listeners what exactly is that meaning to you, dark acoustic
Um,
rock?
it's I write a lot about, the negative things that happen. Sometimes I have trouble getting over those things, and I feel like writing music sometimes helps me process feelings that I may have, depression, anxiety, sadness, resent, guilt, shame, all these things that we as human beings experience. Sometimes it's not as easy for me to just vocalize those things or get my feelings across. Sometimes I feel like it's easier for me to get it out when I'm writing a song for some reason.
Right.
So most of my music kind of started off as writing about those feelings and maybe not addressing some things that I should have addressed. And those songs are actually me addressing things. Whether, now that I look back on that time after I've done some personal work and things like that. But yeah, I'm not afraid to shy away from being really open and honest about my mistakes and the bad decisions I've made and the things that have happened. And I try to be really upfront and honest because I think it's important that not all music is just completely happy. I think it's good for people that are out there experiencing feelings of depression or loneliness or anything like that can listen to a song and know that they're not the only one with those types of feelings, so they may not feel quite as crazy listening to my my music. But yeah, I've always kind of leaned towards the darker side. I'm a metalhead. So
Yes.
the lyrics and everything. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
The lyrics that I write a lot of times lean towards the darker side of stuff just because I love metal too. So there's a little bit of both blended in there, and it's just I don't know why, but when I sit down and play my guitar, I always think about like metal type lyrics or rock songs. So that's kind of where it comes from.
Right. Okay. So I before this I got you on the show today. I listened to your EP called Trap Here, released in 2019, and I thought it was from a good from like happy standpoint to a sad standpoint because your first track called Jester, I thought it was gonna be funny because Jesters are known to be funny back in the old kings and queens days.
Right.
So I thought it was going to be happy to sad, but I'm like, no, that's not. He's talking about some real stuff here, And on the cover, it looks like you're walking with a purpose, So did I hit? Yeah. So yeah. So did this album reflect basically on your life, or did you just get that from another source of your past or whatever?
It's a definite snapshot of the times that I was going through at the time that I wrote those songs. The EP is not necessarily in chronological order as things happened, but all of those songs are written about, a specific point, that I was going through something or something like that, or trying to get a point across to somebody. So it was, each one of those songs is definitely a snapshot from a different period of going through some, trials and tribulations that we go through. But that's definitely what it was. And I did kind of want to take it as a story. But I also wanted to put some of the newer songs that I hadn't released before earlier on the record. So new listeners, so the listeners that I had would get some new stuff right away. But yeah, it most of the stuff that I write is from, personal experience.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's very telling to and I bet you feel better about it too because like yourself, I have depression. And so when you write stuff down on paper or get it out to audiences like I do, you feel better and feel less stressed out, less depressed.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So I'm at the thrift shop in Lexington, and there's hardly nobody's coming because of this COVID stuff. So I've been blasting your single Up From Here.
Yeah.
And man, I just think that's the greatest thing ever, dude. It sounds so good because I got a feeling like you had an inspiration basically for that song from Johnny Cash.
Yeah, it was a song that I wrote. I've told this story before, but it was a song that I wrote while I was on the road at the end of my first tour. and I woke up on like a wooden floor and I was uncomfortable, but it was the last day and I was like, I'm going home today. I'm like,
Yeah.
I made it through the first tour. You know, it's only up from here. The next time I hit the road again, I'm going to know more. I'm going to have more experience. I'm going to take more things, you know, I'm going to prepare differently, you know, and it was kind of it was like the first optimistic thing that I'd written in a long time, because it was, I think there was a certain feeling of achievement. And I was like, hey, if I could, we put our minds to it and we pulled it off. And, you know, it gave me a little feeling of optimism. So that song seemed to catch on pretty well because people were used to a lot of my stuff being pretty gloomy. But that song was a little more optimistic and forward thinking. And I think people liked that about that tune.
Yeah. And I thought it was a very well put together, because there's something about dark acoustic music like yours and the slowness of the pace. You know, it didn't really take you to the high level. It didn't really take you to all the way down slow level. It just stayed right in the middle where it was perfect. You know.
Thank you. The producer that I work with is he's phenomenal. So I take a song in there and then he'll be like, yeah, that's a cool idea, man. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. And we put our heads together and we always come up with something that sounds good. And you know, the next stuff that I have coming out, I hope will, you know, fulfill everybody's expectation, you know, of what I'm going to put out. It's been a year since I've released music. And it's not up to me. It's been up because of the COVID stuff, you know, couldn't get into the studio, couldn't get stuff to mastering, you know, just couldn't get out and do it. And finally got in, knocked out a couple tunes, and now I'm hopefully gonna start 21 off pretty well on the right foot, and think forward and get back out there a little bit and continue to grow this thing and to continue to try to meet cool people, and that's really what it's all about for me. So
absolutely. So you said you started you started making music at age 19, right?
Yeah, right around there.
So was that the age that you thought that the music career would be perfect for you, or did it start way long ago?
You know, I always loved music, and I always loved to sing in the car, and I always loved to rap in the car. And, you know, I just always loved music, always been really into music. And I was at a party with some friends of mine, and they had music equipment set up, and they started playing some cover tunes, and there was stuff I knew the words to. So I just picked up the mic at the party and just, you know, we started playing some tunes, and it seemed like people at the party had a pretty good time. And that was pretty much it for me. Right from there, it was, yeah, I think I can maybe do this. We should start a band. And we started a band, and I've been in and out of bands ever since then. So yeah, I've taken breaks. There's been some heartache along the way with losing projects or personal strife or things like that, or just the timing not working out. You know, there's been a lot of that. And I think any musician that you talk to that's been doing it for a while has experienced those things quite a bit. But, you know, I feel like I'm in a positive place for the first time in a long time. And I'm just hopefully going to be able to look forward and put some of the bad stuff behind me, you know?
Yeah. Can you remember your first music memory?
My first music memory. Yeah, I think it was mostly my mom was always listened to like light rock and pop radio. So I remember like Hall & Oates. I remember my mom listening to the Beatles. I remember my mom listening to like classic rock. My dad listened to like old country artists like Conway Twitty and those types of people. So those are the first memories I have. I really started to find my own taste in music when I was around 11 or 12. I got my hands on the Metallica Kill 'Em All CD, and it was pretty much over from there. You know, like metal. Yes, I'm into it. I don't know what this is, but I really like it.
I like it. Yeah. Because I'll tell you, man, back in high school, man, you couldn't get me away from not listening to Metallica and Megadeth and all those heavy hard hitters. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, I think my mom is still sick to this day about Metallica because I used to bother her. It's her fault though because she gave me my first metal cassette. You remember cassettes
Yeah,
back
of
in the
course.
80s? Yeah.
I had cassettes, definitely.
Yeah.
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 I'm
So
old enough.
my mom bought me the Black Album, and I was like, "What is this?" Okay, and then it's all over, man. Just like you just said, it's all over.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, once you, it's so great to think about those days back in the day when you heard something for the first time
Yeah.
and it like changed your life.
Yeah.
You know, the
It was
first
so
time I heard Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera, I was like,
yes. Yeah.
what is that?
Or even Cowboys from Hell,
Yeah,
And that
like
just yeah.
it just
It,
lit your hair on fire, just melted your face off, and you didn't
yeah.
even really know it. You're like, wow, there's a lot going on there, you
I'm
know?
like, people can actually play this. This is awesome, man.
Yeah,
I was so excited when I heard my first Pantera, Cowboys from Hell record. And that was, my soul just busted wide open from there, man. And
that's how it was
I
for me.
haven't not stopped listening to music ever since.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, so are there more bands like this out there? And you start to look around and you're like, not exactly like Pantera.
Right.
There's really nobody that can do what they did. But you
Right.
find out that there's a lot more aggressive music out there that may not be on the radio or may not be on the mainstream for a kid that might not have access to it.
Yeah.
And then we had stuff like Headbangers Ball, that's where I found my bands. When Headbangers Ball came on Saturday night when I was younger, I was like, yes. So I'm
Yeah.
who are they gonna have on tonight? Because they
Yeah.
always had artists on to talk, and they always had
Yeah.
videos were always so badass, and it was like all the hard stuff that you'd never see during the day. And I was like, this is nice. I like this.
What was your first CD?
My first CD, I believe, was Metallica. I think it was Kill 'Em All by Metallica and an REM Out of Time. I think
nice.
Yeah, I was
music range.
Yeah, Losing My Religion was like big on MTV, and I kind of I think that might have been like my introduction into some more alternative styles of music, and then the grunge thing happened, and I got into that a lot. But yeah, my first CD ever was Metallica, Kill 'Em All.
Okay, yeah, because my mom took me to, I think it was Waxy Maxie's or something, one of those old, this was back in like early 90s, and she told me, okay, James, you can pick up any CD you want to, anything, and I went straight to A's, and I saw this guy jumping off the stage, and it was Angus Young, AC/DC.
Oh yeah.
She said, "Are you sure, man? Are you sure? Because you have crowds and people laughing and clapping." I'm like, "Yeah." And ever since then, man, it was strictly metal until I heard AC/DC, because AC/DC is like a slower paced bluesy rock, and that kind of broadened my range in music. So yeah, AC/DC was it for me, man. Too. Yeah.
My music tastes have changed a lot over the years. Especially as I've gotten a little bit older.
Right.
When I'm on the road and you have a 4-hour drive and you listen to metal straight through, and then you play a show, and then you get up in the morning and you don't feel the greatest, and you're driving home and you're listening to super loud metal at like 7 in the morning. I'm like, I gotta find something else. It's I just can't do it this morning. I got a cup of coffee and I'm like just trying to mellow out and get home and see my kids, and like now I turn on some country music. I'll turn on a podcast. I'll turn on, just a lot of different types of music that I never would have listened to back when I was, really into the metal days.
Right. Speaking of you being on the road, I read that you toured throughout the Midwest. What states have been your favorite to play in, and why?
I would have to say Colorado. Colorado was. Now I've hit 7 states through the Midwest: Nebraska, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Arkansas. But Colorado was, we did not an extended run, but we had like 4 dates there in a row. And we had an opportunity to have a day off there and go around the Trail of Legends and see all the amazing scenery around there. And the people in Colorado were super friendly and hospitable. You know, they helped us with an Airbnb, took care of us.
Nice.
People came out to the shows, brought us food, like people were just super, super friendly there. So I was shocked. Because I'd never played a show in Colorado. I'm like, nobody here is going to know me. But it seemed we knew a person or two in each place, and that helped. And we were fortunate enough to have pretty good crowds that, you know, bought merch and supported us and were really friendly, and, you know, opened their, you know, if you guys need a place to stay, you can always, like, no, we're not going to, you know, just really, really friendly people. So yeah, I would say Colorado, you know, so far has been the front runner.
And it's always good that the state welcomes you like that, because that gives you more of a ability, I guess that's a word, to incentive to want to go back there and play over and over and over again, because they were so nice to you before, and you remember that, you know.
Yeah, it definitely dictates the game plan the next time you go out. You know, this year I was supposed to tour, and I'd already planned to hit that run of shows in Colorado again, because I was like, that was so great. I just want to start doing that every year. I want to hit those places every year and just
first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
Or it should be the last place on your tour, because people will welcome me like, okay, I can get through one more day, you know?
Yeah, this year I'd actually planned a vacation around it. Like, my wife and I were going to go out there early, you know, get a cabin for a few days in the mountains and just chill out, you know, warm up, rehearse, get ready, and just, you know, drink coffee and see the scenery and just relax. And you know, the Rona took all that away. So unfortunately, I know I'm not the only person out there bummed out about not playing shows.
Yeah, it seems like this world needs live music more than ever now. You know,
Yeah,
there's something about the atmosphere and the way that air smells, and, you know, your favorite band is right there. You're watching them. You know, like I can't believe it. You know, all that needs to come back immediately. You know.
Yeah. I don't know when it's going to happen. I myself am not as scared of the virus as I am of it being a poor business decision for a few reasons. You know, I've seen some artists that are booking shows. They've taken some heat for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of taking that heat if it makes sense. But, you know, another thing is, a lot of these places are operating at a limited capacity. And they're offering artists door deals. So, you know, if you've got two acts playing and the maximum capacity is 50, you know, the max each act is going to make is 125. If you've got 4 acts, split that in half. You know what I mean? And then you start to go, okay, is it even worth me leaving? You know, is it even worth me leaving my basement? We have to sell it out. And even if we do, this is the best we can do. You know, so from a pure numbers standpoint, and as hard as it is to get people to shows anyway, even when things are normal, you know, I don't know. I've been offered a couple of things, and I've been reluctant to take them. But, you know, I think as the people get vaccinated, as we build immunity, as all those things happen, I think gradually I'll start to dip my toe in the water a little bit more, take some stuff on, you know?
Right. Well, when you send me your press kit, I want to ask you 2 questions. First and foremost, it said on your press kit that you opened up for Michael Graves from the legendary Misfits right here. Yeah, you know.
Yes, sir.
And then you also opened up for John Corabi, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So let me just tell you a funny story. It's been years since I heard the John Krabi name. I had to, like, when I read your kit, I'm like, is that the same one? So I looked it up, and it's like, yep, that's the Motley Crue, man. I was like, yeah. So so how does that work? Does John or Michael search for artists near them to actually get on their tour with them, or does the venue contact you?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have the venues contact me. When Michael Graves was coming through Wichita, he was going to the Elbow Room, and I was actually playing a show there at the Elbow Room, and the owner and the promoter and the guy that books all the shows there was like, hey, I got Michael Graves from the Misfits coming through. You're a solo acoustic. Your stuff's kind of rock. It's dark. You know, he's like, you had a decent crowd tonight. Do you want to open for Michael Graves? I'm like,
yes.
yes, I do.
Come on, dude.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what night it is. Yes, I
No
definitely
brainer.
will.
Yeah.
And I had a friend named Timbo Kelly. He came up from Tulsa to play with me that night, and he got offered to get on that bill too. He's like, "I love you, Dusty. Thank you." He's like, I came up to play a show, and you got me a show with Michael Graves, and I'm like, I didn't do a damn thing, but I'll take it.
I'll take the credit, man. So did you actually get to meet Michael and John, or is it just like in passing, like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, we stopped and chatted a little bit. Michael was super cool. Most of I didn't get to stay for the whole Michael set because it was a weeknight here, and I get up super early for work. But even then, I was like, I don't care if I'm out till midnight. I'm playing that show.
Right.
But it got to be like 1:15 in the morning, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get out of here. But yeah, Michael was super cool, and John Krabi was super cool too. I mean, we got to talk to them, and they were just really nice, humble guys that seemed to be happy about being out doing what they love and putting on shows. So yeah, it was a pretty cool experience for sure.
Yeah. So I have this ongoing fight with myself, right? Because I want to get your opinion. Okay. So I think that John Corabi is a better singer than Vince, but Vince is a better entertainer. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say especially now. Having seen John Corabi live recently, right. I mean that guy can play and sing. He's a badass. He's an amazing musician. Right. Vince is obviously a iconic front man. You know, you can't take that away from the guy. But you know, I prefer the John Corabi. I prefer John Corabi if I had to pick one or the other.
See, it's the same idea with Van Halen, because we did our show last Monday on Van Halen. So I still think to this day, I think that Sammy Hagar is a better singer and Dave is a better entertainer.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, but that's
I always respected Van Halen.
Yeah.
But I never got like really into their music. For some reason, it was always, I'm not sure what it was for me, but I always liked it, but I never loved it. Like I never went out and bought a Van Halen CD. And I think their popularity was when I was a little bit young. I was maybe a little bit too young. You know, I was born in 81.
Okay.
So I was a fairly young man when they were, really hitting their stride. Like I knew more about the Van Halen with Sammy Hagar just because of my age, and when they came out with Right Now and all that's when they were prevalent in music. When I was a little bit older. But I would say you're probably right though. I mean, I think David Lee Roth's a better performer for sure.
I mean, I still think that 5150 is the best Van Halen record out there. I don't,
Yeah,
I know all the David Lee Roth fans are like, no, Van Halen 2 with it. I'm like, okay, all right.
I heard that somebody went to a David Lee Roth show recently, and they said it was very bizarre. So I have no idea.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Dave's a funny guy. So
yes, he is.
Diamond Davis, back in the day, holy crap, So
yeah.
Okay, so speaking more about the road, can you tell us any fun stories of playing with other bands on the road? Did some of the as far as musically or like? Well,
there's a group of friends that I travel with, fairly regularly. There's Sprout the Anti-Hero. He does solo music, but he's also been in, he also fronted a band called King Shifter, and he's done some other bands, and I think he's got a couple bands going now. He and I did a podcast together briefly. But yeah, he's a blast to travel with. He's just a really laid back, fun guy. And then I've got my friends Rise Again. They're from Wichita. I'm really tight with them. And it's strange because I'm an acoustic guy and they're like, they're like alternative metal or like hard rock metal. Really upbeat, heavy, fast music, and I'm acoustic, but people seem to love to book us together. I think a lot of it has to do with the promotion, but I mean, just the stuff that we do on the road, you know, when you're bored as hell or when you're hungover or whatever it might be, and you're driving home and like you got your playlist on and some gangster rap comes on the radio and you start singing all the words to a gangster rap song or something, and the people in the car like, I don't think they knew that I had that. Because there was a period of time where I got into hip hop really heavily when I was younger, so I still remember all the lyrics, all that stuff.
Yeah,
it comes on the radio, and I'll just start rapping, and they're like, "That is ridiculous that you can remember the words to all these songs, man."
Yeah.
But I try to do stuff to like keep it upbeat, because sometimes it is crappy. You know, sometimes you're like, all right, we have 9 hours to drive to Midland, Texas. And you know, if you've ever been down in West Texas, it's not the prettiest place to drive around. and so we, you know, it's just the stuff that you come up with to talk about. You know, you're in a car, you know, especially like when you go on a tour with somebody, you're spending, you know, 18 hours a day with somebody. So I mean, you talk about it all. You've talked about, so by the time you're towards the end, you're still trying to find things to talk about. It starts to get pretty weird, man.
It does. No, but speaking about rap music, my man, Vanilla Ice was my, you know, it for me, you know, back in
I remember.
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard of the Marty Ray Project.
The Marty
Ray Project. Yeah, he does a fantastic cover of Ice Ice Baby. You need to hear that. I mean, it's an acoustic, you know, mellow out song, but it's literally fantastic. You will love it to death. So
I'll have to check that out.
I highly recommend that. So.
I always had the you know, I like the Dr. Dre era, like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, you know, the early 90s stuff. And then I got like around my junior and senior year of high school, I got really into the Wu-Tang Clan.
Right.
I listened to nothing but Wu-Tang Clan for like 3 years straight. So it takes me back to high school every time I listen to that stuff, and the lyrics come right back to me. And I can't seem to remember anything important, but I can remember like lyrics and actors and the name of shows and stupid things like that. I don't know why my brain works that way.
But it's fun, right?
Yeah.
So you did come out with a heavy metal track when you recorded your 2017 single, "I Don't Give a Damn Anymore." It was an acoustic cover, acoustic song first. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And then you did the heavy metal version.
Yes.
Why did you decide to do that song with both genres? Because I know you love metal music and acoustic rock, you know. So did you just want to release it for sentimental values, or did that song need a metal cover?
Well, it needed it. You know, I wrote it initially on electric guitar, and I was actually going to try to get a band together, but then I made the decision to work on the solo stuff, and that was a song that I wrote. It was just a real simple riff, but it sounded really awesome, drop tuned and distorted and loud, and I was like, oh man, that song's awesome. So then I wrote some lyrics to it, and it was kind of a simple, straightforward, heavy song. I wrote the lyrics for it, and then I just kind of adapted it to acoustic guitar. But then a sound engineer friend of mine had a cancellation. He's like, I'm looking to fill time. I'll do a song for whatever it was at the time. I'll do a song for $150. And I was like, what do you think, dude? If I bring my guitar, I'm like, will you play some leads? And you know, he's a really good guitar player, and they've got a drummer that plays in his band. And I'm like, why don't we metal up a song of mine? He's like, all right, yeah, come and do it. And we did it and put it out there. And it was just something that I did for fun. And you know, just because I'm kind of in a situation where I do have the luxury, I can release whatever I want to release. It's probably not the last heavy song you ever hear me put out. Eventually I'd love to do, you know, another metal tune or or something heavy, or guest on a heavy song with another metal band friend. You know what I mean? Some cameos or some collaborations. That's something I want to do more of. You know, the solo thing is awesome, but you do miss that. You do miss that connection you have with other musicians, and those things that tend to push you. You know, when you work with other people, they push you, and I sometimes long for that. So I that is something that I do plan to do a little bit more of, hopefully.
I saw in a recent YouTube clip that you were playing at the Wichita River Festival. It looks like you had a good time, you know. What was the atmosphere like, and did they treat you as well as Colorado did? You being from Wichita, I think that they would.
It was strange, quite frankly. It was. I was just kind of there playing in a spot like by a food court, and I was just kind of background noise, and I was just kind of pushed off over across the way, and people were eating on the other side. I mean, I did have some people that were listening to me, but it was kind of strange, and they were setting up a stage next to me while I was performing. I was grateful for the opportunity because it was a big name show, and they took care of me. But as far as performance wise, I would say I would probably rather go back to Colorado than do that, because I felt like in Colorado I was playing to an audience that was there for live music, and I feel like at the River Festival at the time that I played where I played, maybe it was a little bit more focused on your just kind of background music.
Right.
And that's fine. I do get some gigs like that, and sometimes those gigs pay well. But I'm much better off, you know, in a smoky bar on a Saturday night. You know, I do a lot better in that environment.
Right. Yeah. Smaller shows like that, and like a bar and place, it always seems to be the most fun, you know.
Yeah.
Because you can get people to sing back to you as you're singing to them, and festivals like that, it's like a ride's going, and like you said, the food court is right there, and you're sitting. There's too much stuff going on, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot of distraction.
Yeah. So if you're in your bar, you know, you got those people for however long you're up there on stage.
And there's some of those, you know, those bars out there that are amazing, that are, you know, we lost one of the bars in Wichita that was dedicated to live music, because of the COVID stuff, but it was a bar dedicated to live music. If you went there, you knew there was live music, and there were always people in there looking to find new bands, looking for new music. And if you invited people to there, they knew it was for live music. So most of the time you have a pretty dialed in audience, you know, and then it's up to you to keep them. You know, can you keep them watching you? Can you keep them having a good time? And you know, that's part of what I love to do, though. It's like, I'm going to go out here and see if I can win these people over.
Exactly. Yeah. That's always the beauty of bars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you are a fellow podcaster too. You just don't play music, which is great.
Right.
You have a podcast called DG and Friends.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about it, and what do you do on it?
DG and Friends is something that I came up with. I was, like, as I mentioned before, I was doing a podcast with my buddy Sprout. His life situation changed a little bit. He went through a move, and his work schedule changed, and schedules just didn't line up. So we decided to table the podcast. During the time that I did the podcast, I loved the platform. I found myself being, you know, intrigued by it, and intrigued by the platform and the possibilities with the platform and the connections that you can make through the platform. So I decided, with help from a buddy of mine who does podcasts, his name's Derek Relaford with Back Home Media. He gave me some pointers to get my stuff set up. And then I just kind of ran with it. I have regular guests on, like musicians, fighters, producers, other podcasters, comedians, voiceover people, whatever. And then I just do another thing called Happy Hour Hangs, which is just kind of an impromptu. If I've got a couple friends with mics and cameras available, be like, hey, you guys want to go live in an hour? Yeah, let's do it. And we go live, and we just kind of do it. It's been fun. I've loved it. And I definitely don't see myself giving up on the platform even when live shows do pick back up, because I like it. And I think the podcast community, like I heard a lot of things about the podcast community being really unwelcoming. And I've found the community to be super welcoming, like the other podcasters, other radio people. I think we all understand that we're all out here trying to do this thing together, and like if I can bring 5 of my people to listen to your show and you can bring 5 of your people to listen to my show,
Right. Yeah.
it helps us both, man.
Yeah.
I want you to succeed and I want to succeed, and let's help each other. That's my philosophy on it. And it seems like most other podcasters that I talk to lately, especially the shows I've been on, they're all of that same mindset. So it's exciting. Yeah. It's an awesome group to be a part of. Like I never would have met you if it wasn't for podcasting. So,
right.
I've made a lot of new connections, and it's been awesome. I've gotten some people that I didn't think I'd be able to get. Right. And, slowly but surely I'm growing it, and I love to do it.
Right. Yeah. That's something that the world needs now, is more help from everybody, because nowadays it's not, it's not very, I guess, formidable to find people who would help you as much as you want to help them,
Yeah. And I've really tried to use it to be, I haven't gotten too serious on it. We do touch on some, a lot of mental health issue stuff. We talk about, some political stuff and all that, but I try to steer away from the same thing that you're going to hear on every news channel on planet Earth.
Yeah.
I try to steer away from that. I think people see it for 12 hours a day, all day long, everywhere they go. When they get home and they want to sit down and watch a podcast, like they want to watch a couple guys talk about something silly, or they want to learn something about somebody, or they want to hear about someone's journey, or, I know there are people out there that make a lot of money doing political stuff, but that's never going to be my jam at all. I don't even
have cable. That's how much I hate anything.
I don't either.
Yeah. On podcasts and Netflix and Hulu. Now you talk about language,
Yeah. That's exactly how I am.
Yeah. So, like I said in the intro, you have a new single coming out called Through the Cracks.
Yes, sir.
Out on January 29th, 2021. Is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners before the song releases?
All I would say is, if you give it a shot, guys, I worked really hard on it. This was a song that was extremely painful for me to write. It was from probably the darkest time of my life, when I felt like I was alone. A time when I kind of felt like I got thrown to the wolves and forgotten about. And it's just one of those songs I didn't even know if I wanted to put it out. Yeah. Sometimes when I play it live, I can't. I break down. Sometimes when I play it, it's a very personal, very painful song. But I tried to make it powerful, and I tried to make it so it relates to everybody. So I put everything I had into it, and I think it sounds great. And I would just appreciate it if people would give it a listen. That's all. I'd give me a chance. Listen one time and give me a chance.
Got the hooks, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely gonna listen to it as soon as it comes out.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So your social media is Twitter at Dusty Grant 57.
Yes, sir.
Facebook Dusty Grant 57 also.
Yes,
and sir. Twitch. You got a Twitch account.
Yes.
The same Dusty Grant 27.
Yes.
I know this. You don't have an Instagram or a TikTok. I've heard some very, very, very good things about TikTok now as opposed to earlier.
I'm hearing it everywhere. People are telling me that I should get on TikTok, but I have platform overload currently. I'm on so many different platforms trying to manage so many things and creating content for my podcast and everything. I'm quite honestly at my limit as far as new things that I can manage with the time constraints that I have. So if someone wants to pay me to get on TikTok, I'll get on TikTok.
I'll do it.
Yeah. And I don't think that's likely to happen anytime soon. I am on Instagram, Dusty Grant 57.
Okay.
So you can find me there, and the best resource is my website. I try to keep it pretty up to date. It's dustygrant.com. You can find everything: pre-saves, podcast information, merch, tours, upcoming guests, Spotify links, mailing lists, all those types of things.
Everything.
Yeah.
All good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just have two more questions, and then I'll let you go because I know you're a very busy guy with children. And
yeah, no problem at all. Man.
That's 24-hour job, right there.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so when I remember, I like to ask my guests which song resonates to them most. Like there's some songs which means more than anything in the world to me, and I can hear it, but I just can't tell you how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
One song I will tell you is from Air Church, Talladega. I tell that to all my guests who come on. There's something about that song that I cannot explain to you, even if it's so hard. I can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what song does that same thing to you?
I am very, very, I guess I don't know what they call that word, but I'm very receptive to music. When I listen to things and it's well done, or when I get I get goosebumps, I get emotional, my eyes well up. I enjoy music. It's beautiful, Yeah. But I would probably have to go with Down in a Hole by Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
I know that, and particularly the live version. Just because you can picture the performance. I think everybody's seen that YouTube video of Down in a Hole being unplugged, performed unplugged when Lane Staley was on his last, when he was on his last leg there. And it just makes me feel a certain way every time I hear it.
Yeah. Our last question for you today is, what are you listening to? Because I'm always looking for new music, new stuff to listen to. I'm a big fan of music, just like you.
Yeah.
And I just want to know if you can recommend any song artists to me.
I can definitely recommend a few. I've been listening to a band called Saul. You've probably maybe heard of them. They've been getting some radio play on Sirius XM, but it's SAUL. I've been listening to them a lot. I've been listening to a really heavy band called Fit for an Autopsy. I think they're out of Houston, Texas. They're really heavy, and I've been really getting into them. And just recently I started listening to some Butch Walker stuff. So I have a pretty eclectic mix of music. Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Cody Jinks, a lot of Whitey Morgan. I like that storyteller, outlaw kind of country genre too. But those are my go-tos right now. That and a lot of different podcasts. I'm meeting a lot of independent podcasters, so I find myself listening to a lot of my friends' shows now, just to whether I'm going to be going on their show or they're going to be coming on my show or whatever, trying to familiarize myself with these people. So I don't, so I'm not completely clueless going in, but yeah, those are some of the bands I've been digging lately.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Well, once again, I gotta thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
It's really an eye-opening experience for me. And even though my co-host is not here, I'm sure he'll be listening to this.
Awesome.
And yeah, just thank you so much for coming on. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. When you're ready and you've got everything, just shoot me the links. I'll get them shared out to all my folks. And I'm humbled and honored to be on. I appreciate you having me. I'd love to do it again sometime.
And will do. Yes, sir. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great day.
All right, man. You too.
Bye.
Bye.